Okay, welcome to part 2 of the volunteer hours tracking help tutorial video, whatever you want to call it. Part 1, we talked about the ICS 211 that we use at operations, exercises, trainings we hold, stuff like that. This video will go over the personal activity log. So this is what you're going to use to track any hours that you are doing CERT or you can include on here racy stuff, basically anything you do for uh, emergency management or anything like that. Put it in. So in this one, you fill out the top. So your CERT ID tag, your cow tag number, completed by full name. Again, please print legibly so we can figure out who these belong to. And then the month and the year, and page one of whatever for that month. So generally, you're going to try and keep these by month. Um, we don't really have a problem if you want to hand them in. We're going to try and ask for them at least monthly, but if you want to hand them in more often than that, as you get a sheet done, that's fine. You can scan and email them to us. Um, there's numbers of ways you can get it in, but generally handing it in the meeting will be best. Um, So this log is tracking everything you do. Again, this is good so we know where hours are being spent and if they're, if we're overburdening people or we're spending hours in the wrong places. Again, it helps us secure um, funding and let those who have already given us funding know, look, we have people spending a ton of time. Um, and it lets us give you a little bit of credit for that. But it really is important to the CERT program and all our programs for people to know out there that these FEMA monies we're getting, for instance, which are dwindling, are are being utilized. They're not just going to waste. So um, again, this one gets a little bit more complicated because there's a lot of different things to keep track of here. But first one's simple. What's the day you did it? Um, if you did like 2 or 3 days different stuff, you don't have to put in, like, let's say you're working on a project with me to enter this stuff into the database. Um, if you did some in the morning and some in the afternoon, you did an hour here, you did an hour there, or whatever, you don't have to put one in each time. Just the date, what it is that you were doing. If you really, while the little things are up here, uh, the type code. So is it CERT training or training meeting, outside class, uh, independent study for something, FEMA class online, project work, exercise, a meeting, activation, other. Um, that's another thing. You can use this form to track stuff. Generally, if you fill out an ICS 211 and it's one of our operations or exercises or whatever, that's going to get put in the database. But when we do mutual aid to another place and you fill in their ICS 211, we generally don't get that back. So keep track of on here everything. I would suggest keeping track of everything, even where you filled in. That way, if we miss something or we misplace something, or you see something that doesn't quite match up with what you did, you can put it in there. So again, this all goes towards your volunteer hours and whatnot. So the date, the type, the project or description activity, location. Try and be as descriptive as possible. Um, so I'll put in 2, 13, 14, type. I'm going to say outside class. So in this example, you might have gone to a class that we don't even know, nobody in CERT even knows what it's about. So try and be as descriptive as possible. Say, um, um, well, last year I went to a class called Wide Area Search, and it was called Per 213. So Per 213 Wide Area Search class in um, Edwardsburg. Edwards, forgot there for a minute. Edwardsburg. Um, and that's probably, enough. Um, if you were, let's say, working on a project, um, and you're going to put this in here and you're going to say, um, let's say, animal response team project, Project Bob, I don't know, whatever you're calling it, or something like that. Um, uh, Building PR display board or something. Something like, that helps us figure it out. There's slots this goes into the database of stuff. So we can not only figure out, well, we're having people do this much stuff, but they're doing it in these areas and on these types of tasks. Um, and um, one final example might be, again, the CERT team currently, this is going to be changing, but currently doesn't have direct involvement but for RACES. But let's say you did RACES, so you're going to put, you know, RACES, Skywarn, whatever it exactly goes under, but you go Skywarn, um, or you could even put siren testing. Um, be more descriptive when in doubt, but generally we're going to know what siren testing is. You can put whatever information you want to put in here for your own records too. So um, siren testing, um, you know, 15 mile and H drive or something like that. Again, a final example of how to be descriptive on these things might be um, let's say you went to any of the CERT trainings you should have there. But let's say you went to a search and rescue uh, review class that some of the new search and rescue people are taking, and they didn't do an ICS 211, and he asked Paul about it, and he said, "Oh shoot, I forgot. Can you just put it on your personal activity log?" Well, put that in there. SAR. Um, uh, I forget what it's called now. SARTech. Uh, whatever we're calling it, 2 or 3 um, study session. Um, we studied knots and fire building, something like that helps us figure out what the heck's going on there. And if I have a question, I can either come to you or I can come to whoever was doing the class and say, Paul, I didn't see a thing on this. Was there a class or whatever? Um, so this might be a CERT training. So a T. So using the top one here as an example, did you fill out an ICS 211? Again, if you're going to record everything, which again I'd suggest helps you keep a record of everything you did too, in case you want to go back and say, when did I do that? Or, oh yeah, no, I did this, and you don't have it on your records, because we'll be hopefully here in the next half or maybe even the next quarter of the year, we'll be sending out probably monthly records to say, hey, this is what we have for you. Do you have anything else you forgot to tell us about? But um, you can circle these. Was it, or really, I don't care what you do. If you want to do this on the computer, that's fine too, and you can, delete one or something. But did you fill out an ICS Cert 211 on this, or no? In other words, on one that was being handed in. If you have a question mark, just put question mark, because maybe you went to help out mutual aid, another site, and you filled one out there, but you don't know if we have it. You can put question mark, and we can figure that out. But yes, no, no lets me know immediately, because anything that you're going to say yes on, I'm going to probably double check, but I can safely assume that I already have that because I have the ICS 211 handed in to me from whoever was, or handed into our team that takes care of this stuff. Um, I have that info on the ICS 211. I'm probably going to, if I have any questions, I'm going to not, you know, I'm going to look at it to double check. And then The hours and minutes of prep and travel time, again, that's the same thing as the ICS 211. The activity time, so how much time did you actually spend doing the activity, and then total time. Um, that should be it. If you have any questions, you can talk to me, Matt Parker, or um, really any of the leaders should be able to answer your questions. But since I built a database that we're going to be using to track a lot of this, I can probably answer your questions best. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking your time. And here's your first thing that you can put on your personal activity log. Thanks again.